All right, cool beans. Okay, so as most of us know, the modern flat earth movement was started by a guy going by the name of Parallax. He was big mad that science was moving beyond the reach of everyday folks, requiring specialized degrees and even more specialized tools. He believed, as many flat earth advocates do, that every person should be able to do science for themselves and investigate the nature of the world we live on. You know what? I agree with that. Science is for everybody. But we don't always agree on the things that we find. Some of us look at the world and accept what the top level scientists tell us, that it's a globe. Others look and notice that we can't see the curve of a flat planet from where we stand, so it looks flat, so it must be flat. If only there were a way we could remove our personal biases and objectively determine which of these is the case. Some kind of test, perhaps. Good news, we can, and all on our own, just like old Parallax dreamed of. The first way that comes to mind is to do it the way the ancients did it. Sticks and shadows. Eratosthenes used a well in Aswan where the sun shines down to the bottom only at noon on the summer solstice, and a rod in Alexandria some 800 kilometers north. But two rods will work just fine. If you place one stick in a spot where the sun is exactly overhead at solar noon, and place another stick some distance directly north or south, the shadow cast by the second stick will give you a non-zero angle, from which you can, with the distance between the sticks, calculate the circumference of the globe, the same as the ancients did. In fact, you don't even need the first stick to cast no shadow. It just makes the math easier. You can do the same thing with a measurement of the difference between the shadows. The second way is even easier, but a tad more expensive. Travel. If you can afford it, you can physically circumnavigate the globe. You can literally go see for yourself, and the fact that whether you go north or south around the poles or east or west around the middle, and you'll eventually come back to where you started, only makes sense on a globe. You don't even need to take a plane. It'll take a while, but you can walk, taking a boat for the watery bits. Or if you just want a quick test with no math involved, you can book a flight from Australia to Buenos Aires. You can take a commercial flight right over Antarctica and see for yourself that there's no ice wall, no edge, both elements that every flat Earth model I've ever heard of requires. Or if travel doesn't suit you, just wait for the next lunar eclipse to be visible from where you live. As Magellan once said, they say the earth is flat, but I know that it is round, for I have seen its shadow on the moon, and I have more faith in a shadow than in the empty words of the church. That shadow projects a circle every time, no matter what time the eclipse takes place from viewed on Earth, and that can only be the result of a globe. But what's even more important is that there's any shadow at all. How, by Sagan's beard, could a lunar eclipse even be possible if the sun and the moon were both above the world? The earth can even come between the sun and the moon to cast a shadow of any shape is proof every person can see with their own eyes that the flat earth model, which requires both celestial bodies to always be on the same side of the world, is nonsense. There are lots and lots of other tests, of course. Jeranism infamously proved the curvature of the planet with his failed hole in the fence test, for example. But the simple fact is that every aspect of life on this planet, from the rising and setting of the sun, rather than it getting closer and farther, to the reality that time zones exist, all constantly reconfirm for each of us 1,000 times a day that our world is the same shape as every other planet we can see with even our largest telescopes, a globe. So those are my tests, with no special tools, training, or reliance on the honesty of anybody else required. Sticks and shadows, observe a lunar eclipse, or just go out and see for yourself. The very essence of Parallax's philosophy. Now, I'm sure our esteemed opponents also have their observations to present, and we're going to talk about them over the course of the evening. But while I still have the floor, I'd like to pose a question for their consideration. Anybody can dig for data that seems to back up their position, but why hold that particular position at all? What reason do they have to subscribe to Flat Earth in the first place to motivate them to try to find a way to justify the belief they already hold? For example, I subscribe to the globe model because I have no reason to question what science is telling me. As I've just recounted, I can easily verify the facts for myself should I have any doubt, and I have done several of these things. Overcoming both established science and plainly observable reality is a very high burden of proof to bear. And I'm even more interested in why they adopt the contrary position than I am in how they intend to demonstrate it. Thank you.
All righty. Well,